Not my Lamborghini. Before the Yakuza kill you.
Yeah, I definitely am not going to get involved in any Yakuza car importing rigmarole with my sketchy friends.
Although they probably would be able to provide a Toyota Century with no problem, because a nice black V12 Century would be a pretty sweet ride.
That would be. I would like that.
Anyway, I do it for one of the old V8s, man.
Yeah. So
It's like
but the
a
V12
Lexus
is just
more.
because it's just cool.
It is cool.
And nothing.
I don't think they're 25 years old yet because that's what Phil's waiting on.
Yeah,
Phil's
like in 2 years.
Yeah,
2 years.
Phil's going to have a Century as soon as they're 25. He swears.
But nothing flexes like understated competence.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That is like
one of those.
Yeah, that's the.
Speaking of understated competence, should we start?
None of us.
None of us. Do I have permission to record and screen share, Jeff?
You do?
Yeah.
Excellent. Then
Jeff's already recording and already playing.
Oh gosh.
All right. Well, yeah. Then let's kick this pig.
Hi. What did the pig do to you?
I know.
They
Welcome
provide tasty
to
bacon.
Welcome. It's a magical animal. Could be pork. Could be bacon. Welcome to Everyone Racers, the show designed for the world of low dollar racing and oddball pork culture. It doesn't matter what kind of Lemachamp or Lucky Track Dog League you run, SCCA or NASA, we won't discriminate as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussion, tips, tricks, news and notes in the world of amateur endurance racing, and whether it's on the spot hella sweet or we're lucky enough and Chrissy gives us just the tip, we are sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Mental.
And we are Everyone Racers. Thanks for coming back and listening to a Volkswagen Thing episode of our podcast. It's Type 181. If you're not driving a car, don't forget the E1R Brengo card. Link in your show notes.
Ask me what my sketchy car importing Yakuza-related friend drove in college.
Jeff, what did your sketchy Yakuza car-related friend drove in college?
Orange VW Thing.
Nice.
Wow, so timely.
It is very timely.
Jeff, keep it rolling. What are you working on?
What am I
not
working
importing
on?
half Ferraris from Hong Kong.
No.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm working on. It was my birthday weekend. Woo! Check it out.
49 again?
Yes, exactly. New Blip Shift shirt.
It is the Blues Brothers mobile.
That is right. And it has all the labels on it, like cop shocks, cop tires, no catalytic converter. It's pretty good.
So it runs good on leaded gas.
That's right. We need to fix the cigarette lighter. So between COVID safe festivities, no, we did not go out for a restaurant meal. And it is the 1 year anniversary of the last time I have eaten in a restaurant. So that's kind of interesting. I fixed the broken antenna on the wife's car. If you remember the snow knocked it off of her 2015 Forester. And Chris, I have to thank you for suggesting left-handed drill bits.
Yes, they are magic when they work.
My
They're so
God.
magic.
Why have I ever tried to do those little out? Oh, never again. I fixed the blinky issue on my Valentine 1 V2, which happened every time I turned on the windshield wipers. It would momentarily cut the power. It turns out that multimeters are also magic things that you should actually check what circuit you're using. So just put that in. That's my tech tip for the day. Use a multimeter, everybody. I did the tie rod end on the Nissan Titan because that was very jiggly. And it took me
the bad kind of jiggly.
Yeah. Bad kind of jiggly. And I did the tie rod in like 1 hour. And then it took me 2.5 hours to grease the Zerk fitting because it took me 20 minutes to find my grandfather's old grease gun. And then I took it out to the truck and I tried to get grease to come out of it and it was empty. So then I had to go to Harbor Freight to get grease and that took 40 minutes because they had a hell of a sale. And then I came home and I filled the grease gun and it's an old one. So I had to fill it with a spoon. I'd scoop it out and put it in the tube. And let me finish the story, Mental, and then because it just hold that. Then I tried to put the grease gun on it and this is a big grease gun. So it wouldn't fit between the truck and the bottom of the earth.
And you didn't think about this when you were buying it?
No. So I took it on the bench and I tried to bend the nozzle and I broke the nozzle. So then I had to get the tap and die out, and I like re-tapped the nozzle, and I got the little bit out, and I stuck it in there again. It still didn't fit. So I said, well, I know better, and I'll bend it less this time. And it broke again. So I went back out to Harbor Freight, and I got myself a new grease gun with a flexible tube and bought even more stuff because they had a 30% coupon off of everything, $20 and under. And I was like,
this and this
Yeah.
and this and this and this.
exactly. So yeah, that was it. I finally finished, and I am searching for advice. 3 out of 4 podcast members will tell me it drives straight down the road. Do I or do I not need to pay someone to do an alignment? I counted threads, put it right back on, steering wheel straight, track straight.
I've done the same thing at times. And then when I actually put the measurement on it, it was way off because not every tie rod end is the exact same length.
And you don't want to
Like,
wait
sometimes
until
it's a
you
little more.
get
I don't
different.
want to wipe
Here's-
out my new tires.
That's the problem is those tires are expensive
They are.
and you want to wipe them out.
You're right.
Fine. Worst case, bring it up here this weekend. We'll put the toe plates on it. You can see how
That's all I really need. Is
pretty
toe
close.
plates. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm working on. Mental. What are you working on?
And that was what I was going to say, and you clarified when you went back. For anyone that's listening to this
All right, Robot Mental, what are you working on?
is not one of us. When he says it took him, my internet, here he goes.
Now you're back.
So not because it was crowded, because when you go to Harbor Freight and they're having a sale, you've just got to take your time and make sure there's nothing you need. Yeah. So, and again, everyone like, Scott down in Arizona and Donnie and Randy and all those guys went, of course, that's what it means. So just, that's for our non-regular listeners. And so I spent the weekend in Dallas with Extreme Experience. They have a new Porsche GT3 RS.
Ooh.
And it's green.
Oh,
Favorite color.
yes. So the GT3 is the 911 that goes to CrossFit every day. The GT3 RS is the one that goes every morning and every afternoon and won't shut up about it. But oh my, the exhaust pipes are twice the size. In fact, it almost got kicked out of Atlanta Motorsports Park because it would not fall into their decibel meter. It is so wonderful. Yes, I'm in love with that one car. Now I'm at the point where the roof starts getting expensive because we have to start buying things. So the new reflective, energy efficient sheathing goes up starting next week. And then I'm going to go ahead and order the rubber. And because we're up there and Vicky went up there, we're concerned about our air conditioner, which is 15-year conditioner, which is essential in Las Vegas. So as Chrissy prophetically called it, welcome to Project Creep. And let's see, been working on logistics with Florida Man Donnie for our domination of the upcoming Texas rally. Went office shopping for my new Lemons job. I think I found the solution this afternoon. And this morning, unexpectedly, I made a surprise appearance on the Bid Nerds YouTube podcast every day about 9:00 my time. So about noon your time, they get on there and they go over. And Bradley was on talking about the new Rad for sale. If you guys haven't been to the Rad for
I
sale.
was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, they've got a Mitsubishi Colt Turbo on there that's like at $3,100. That is, and tomorrow evening I leave for Austin for another Extreme Experience weekend. And if that Mercedes isn't there again, I'm going to be upset. I told them I want the AMG GT, so they're going to try. Not for me, just because they're supposed to bring it.
You complain that we don't have that on Monday nights. You complain Extreme Experience doesn't have it. Yeah, I'm sensing a pattern.
I know.
Okay.
And, well, once I drive it, it'll either be amazing or I'll hate it.
You'll probably like it.
Yeah. I don't think there's much hope that you're not going to like it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear you have ceremonially flipped the switch on the hammer from pry to hit. It's the other different direction, because normally it's a ceremonial flipping of the ratchets from off to on, but with a hammer it doesn't. Anyway, didn't come out.
Oh, I like that. No, I love it. It symbolically says that I am out of destructive mode and into progress.
Constructive mode. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of constructive mode, Chrissy, what you working on?
Deconstructing. That's what we did. Lots of it. Took the Mazda 3 hatch with 250,700 miles off for its last drive as a street car with all of its safety aspects intact. Started it in the trunk, stripped it, took all the panels off, took all the bolts out, all the plastic bits underneath of it. And so when you take apart a car or when you go to the junkyard, you look for things that are in the car. So I was always anxious to uncover a different seat or mount or carpet to find what could I find. We didn't find anything too much fun because the car's pretty clean. The car was very clean. Lots of fancy paper clips. I know why they were there. Some candy, sticky notes with some brilliance that comes with commuting because there are random to-do lists and phone numbers that I can forget and that kind of stuff. So everything was out by the weekend, and I had plenty of time to sit by myself, think about all my times with the car. So yeah, that's what I did for most of the weekend.
It was the first car disassembly I've ever been a part of where there was 0 sticky change.
Not a cent. Not even in the glove
Otherwise,
compartment.
there's always sticky change.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. I understand. Totally.
Not in this car.
Nope. It's very
The
cool.
rally car interior is getting gutted next week, and I fully expect to find lots of not just sticky change, all kinds of unpleasantness.
Make it, put it in a pile and take a picture. It's the best.
Jeff, if you ever went through your car, I'm sure there'd be lots of sticky change.
Tons.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, what have you been working on?
I'm never concerned about the sticky change. I'm always concerned about the French fries from McDonald's that look perfectly fine, and you know they've been there many years because you've not been to a McDonald's in like 2
Many
years.
years. Yeah.
Exactly.
What have I been doing? Not much.
Yeah.
Well, the Z runs.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, it does.
And drives, actually.
It
Yeah.
didn't.
I
It did
drove
not
around
start
the
that.
block.
Back up a little.
This is the end result.
Fine.
Is it runs and drives.
It
and
didn't for
actually
a while.
everything's
We had
good.
some troubleshooting and sadness. Okay, we
Oh, I'll
have to
go
tell
through
people that.
I'm backing up on the story. I just wanted to lead off with the hits. So yeah, totally wouldn't start when we first tried. We even had a Zoom meeting with Jeff and Jen. We're like, here we go. And crank, nothing. Sadness. Then like, well, I don't know what to do. Found out I had the fuel lines on the wrong side of the regulator. Well, the in was out and out was in. So fix that. Okay. Oh, great. That's the easy solution. Bled the air out of the fuel system. Great. Let's go. Nothing. Got the data logger hooked up to it. Nothing. I said, oh, that's strange. Then I went out to the Suburban and tried the data logger because it's also it's the same thing. It's an 03 GM truck. It's the same thing. So it worked fine. So okay, let's do some more digging.
Nothing on it meant like HP tuners plugged in, but you would start it and rev it and turn the key on, and there was no lines.
VCM scanner. It's part of HP tuners. It's like a data logging thing. Shows you live feeds from everything. So had nothing, but on the Suburban, everything looked great. So then dug in a little bit more, and wouldn't you know it, it was the exact same problem we had with the Honda with the motor swap, in that the switched power that's necessary is switched in on, but not in start. Isn't that fun?
So you were feeding what with the non-switched power?
Everything.
Oh, the entire car. Yeah.
No, every sensor on the motor was getting power from this non-switched power, or from switched power that wasn't hot in start.
Yes.
So not working when you're trying to crank. Who knew? Eventually had to chase that down and found that there is a grand total of one wire in the car that is hot in start. But that wire is hot only in start and not hot in on. So I couldn't just run that to run the power, all this stuff. I had to then tap both of them in. Whatever. It works now to trigger a relay that has the other rest of the power and works. That power now works fine. Yes, Jeff.
So we frequently get accused of not explaining things well enough, and I'd like to explain this a little more. Everyone who starts their car knows that the key kind of turns in a specific order, and you go past run to start. And then when you let go, the key goes back to run. So you need all the electrics in the motor when you're in the start position and in the run position, and that's what we did not have.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because none of the sensors are doing anything when they don't have that power.
So you're like going rah, 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 and it's not injected.
But it's
not anything.
If I left it in run and just pulled it with a truck to turn it, in gear or down.
Yeah. We could have push started.
It would have fired, right?
Yeah.
But not with a key. And I'd really like it to work with the key.
Sure.
Not
sure.
have to push.
Menzel's getting mauled by a wolf or
8
something. I can't know what that is.
Yes,
8 pound.
Not really
well,
sure.
and that was the I think that was the video with the potato camera on somebody's phone from 1982, but it said, hey, it starts with a key now. It used to not do that.
Yeah.
That was just
why.
That's what we usually get from you, Mental, is the video the size of your actual thumbnail that doesn't work.
Yes.
That's because we are texting each other videos. We need to send them in a different app. That's awesome. So there was a trip around the block. Please explain.
There was. Well, before we even get that, I did a lot of other stuff because before I could even run it, when we were waiting for plug wires, I was so out of stuff to do. I put an air dam on it out of garden edging. I made heat shields out of an old water heater and got those ready to go.
How much old water heater do you have left?
This is the last of it.
Not a
It's
lot.
gone.
The piece is getting smaller and smaller.
Well, and this one was a small water heater.
Wait till you see
the
shields, because they were the scraps left of the water heater. And one of them
this is the fourth race car that this water heater is.
Well, we keep getting new water heaters. Like we had the one here, and then Chrissy's parents needed a new one, so we stripped that for stuff. Okay. And then this last one was the little one at Cape House that we replaced, and we gutted that. And sheet metal.
Skin of a water heater, very important for your race car.
Absolutely. What else did I do? I cleaned up the engine bay wiring harnesses, because that was a lot of stuff was open in the engine bay. Got the fuel pump control actually linked to the ECU properly, and chasing some fluid leaks, learning HP tuners, and decided to drive the car around the block. The only thing that wasn't working was the mass airflow sensor. It wasn't giving me a reading, but the car still revved up fine. Everything seemed fine. So went to drive it, drove around the block, and it seems fine, really. I mean, stuff's still burning off the exhaust and all the hot things that were there, right?
Please
the brakes work really well. The steering is straight. The car tracks straight.
Why do I have pending doom in my brain? Like, we're going to remember this conversation after 10 minutes on the track when it lunges, something bad. So
that's possible.
But let's not
nothing
forget.
I can do about that now.
Nope.
It I goosed the gas a little bit. I'm in a neighborhood and this thing's pretty quick, and it
and it's
it
not
goes.
it's a black car with it sounds loud, and it has a very large ugly hood scoop.
I wouldn't call it ugly. I just say large.
It sounds great.
It's pretty ugly.
It sounds great. Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, it sounds great. So the only thing left now is the mass airflow sensor, which last night I started to ohm out the wires in the harness, and one of them does not connect between the mass airflow plug and the ECU, and that means I have to unloom the entire engine wiring harness to trace that wire all the way through.
But I said that's the only one. You made a wiring harness.
Yeah.
I mean, that's due.
Yep.
Sorry,
totally appropriate.
But at least this wiring loom won't be all nasty and gross and sticky coinified because I
just put it together.
Yeah.
So anyway, good progress there, and we should hopefully be more or less done with it this weekend. So
I'm
except for Steam.
excited.
Yep, and we're working on Mazda.
Mazda
coming along. All right, good news and notes.
Let's go, Chrissy.
Our favorite F1 beat reporter, Hazel
Chrissy
Southwell.
Matura.
Thanks. Has penned a piece at The Drive. It covers the recently released investigation of Grosjean's F1 crash at Bahrain last season. The link is our show notes, but here's some quick highlights. Grosjean's car impacted the triple guardrail barrier at 192 kilometers per hour, or 119 miles an hour, and a result peak force equivalent to 67 Gs. 67.
Holy cow.
The impact was so enormous that the car's survival cell destroyed the middle of the barrier, traveling through it, causing further damage to the top and the bottom. The fuel that ignited during the crash came from the smaller safety bladder that feeds into the engine. Everyone listening probably knows what a G is, and it's defined as the force equivalent to the gravitational pull of the Earth. In regards to this discussion, that means that Grosjean's weight, he hit the barrier with a force of over 10,600 pounds. That's the weight of almost 2 Suburbans. Report concludes that survival cell and all driver safety equipment functioned as they should have. Not surprised.
So I read this also. And I read an interesting thing that they already decided that they are going to change on the next car. And it is that the fuel hatch is connected to the body of the car. And they are going to make it an integral part of the bladder. So if the bladder removes itself from the vehicle, the hatch will still be closed. Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. All to protect less gas getting out.
Cool. Who else got
Fireball with a little bit of gas.
Yep. Last year, NASCAR star Tony Stewart announced plans with Ray Everham, who is a famous crew chief, for a new version of the International Race of Champions, aka IROC. Yes, millennial. That is where the IROC Camaro got its name.
Hell yeah! Don't forget the IROC Daytona Z. Did we lose mental? Did he freeze?
Yeah, Huey freeze.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
let's go ahead and forget the IROC Daytona Z. I think Dodge. Yeah, let's forget the IROC Daytona Z. I think Dodge wants to forget it. So,
Yeah.
Now, the series is called the Superstar Racing Experience, or SRX for short. It's going to be 6 races, all oval short tracks. The drivers list includes Tony Kanaan, Willie T. Ribbs, yeah, Elio Castroneves, and yeah, Tony Stewart himself. I love Tony. There are also some new racers like Trans Am's Ernie Francis Jr. A link to the schedule and the website is in our notes, along with the link to the piece that Steph Schrader wrote about the car, which they will be using. It's worth clicking on the link just to listen to this thing because it looks the part. And real quick for our viewers on the tube, I'm going to hit the old
On the YouTube.
share screen,
I like the look at
which
this. Well,
which apparently has been disabled by my.
oh my gosh.
disabled by
Hold
my
on a
host, so-
second. Advanced sharing options. All participants can share. Go ahead. I will say that I like the look of this car. It looks kind of like a cross between a sports car and a NASCAR.
It's not too far off of something we could do with the Z, realistically. I mean, put the Ferrari
Funny
F40
you should
wing.
mention that because
and-
later on in listener feedback, they actually have a comment about
Yeah.
that. But it looks like an older NASCAR with a more of an F40 style nose, I think. But anyway, it's a good looking car.
I think it looks a little bit like the IMSA 80s or 90s kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. I like it. I would check that out. I don't know if I'll watch every week. It's still oval, but
Mm-hmm.
who else got a story?
You do, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm
Oh.
skipping mine.
You're skipping yours. Sorry.
Yeah.
Didn't see it. SEMA. You all know SEMA. Not only do they do a show, but they are also a governmental body, and they have filed an amicus brief on behalf of Gearbox Z. Who is Gearbox Z? They are a Ford, GM, Dodge diesel truck aftermarket tuner parts seller, and the EPA is suing them for violations of the Clean Air Act. According to the federal prosecutors, Gearbox Z violated the Clean Air Act by manufacturing and selling, quote, aftermarket products that bypass, defeat, or render inoperative emissions controls installed in motor vehicles or motor vehicle engines. SEMA says the Clean Air Act does not apply to certified vehicles used exclusively on the track, and these parts are labeled hashtag for off-road or racing use only. SEMA states that the agency's interpretation breaks from the plain language in the CAA and the legislative history and the EPA's regulations, blah, 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 basically saying it has no interest in vehicles that begin their existence as normal EPA-certified production cars on the public roads and then gets converted for a sanctioned competition. So basically, they are using the race car loophole that says you're allowed to cut the exhaust and emission stuff if you're only using it for a race. I don't know how many people are racing their Duramax, so I don't know whether that really applies, but that is the defense that is being used.
Damn bro dozers had to ruin it for everybody. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
come on, bro dozers.
Well, and that's what they get for rolling coal all the time.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because that's obvious. People say, look at that. And they get upset about it. Yep.
Yeah. Totes.
Clean air is nice, kids. Don't ruin it.
Yeah, seriously.
Seriously.
Coming race results. None. Coming races. Go.
Hey, this weekend champ is at Texas's Harris Hill course for an 8+7, 44 cars. 10 of them are BMWs.
Boring.
Thank you.
Boring.
Oh, thank you, Mental. That's good. a little behind, but that was wonderful.
Is he behind because he missed a cue or because his internet?
Because his internet.
It's giga blasting.
The
It's totally
timing
giga
was
blasting.
so awesome because it was a good 4 seconds late.
It just started at something else, and all of a sudden boring. Okay. Well, realistically, 9 of the 10 BMWs are boring because one is a 74 2002 from Sushi Schnitzel Racing that's Honda S2000 powered and apparently street driven. So
Yes.
that one's not boring. That's
Not
cool.
boring.
But what is boring is 18 Miatas. What
Ooh.
is up with Texas and Miatas? Like, I
Ooh.
thought 18 Mustangs, I'd say, okay, yeah, you're Texas. Anyway, 2 Hondas, one of which is an Insight. So that's fun.
Yeah.
1 Boxster and a Triumph TR6.
Ah, you go with
Excellent.
your bad selves.
Right.
And you were wrong, Jeff. We do have recent
We do have
results.
recent results. Are these out of order? I thought we did the results and then we did the upcoming. I don't
Whatever.
know.
Oh, well.
Chrissy, tell us about the recent results.
Let's hear about Chamcar. They ran their 14 hours at VIR South, which I'm adding. Boring. That's my boring there. First was number 98. Where's John? And their 92 Integra. They ran away with it 10 full laps over second place. Boring BMW of Red Rooster Racing, and third was a lap behind them in Valerian Steel in a
Valerian.
Sorry, I looked at this
don't
like
watch Game of Thrones. It's a
No.
Game of Thrones reference. If you don't,
No.
you don't watch.
No.
You won't.
Sorry, Steel in a Miata.
Okay. Well, World Racing
Hey.
League was at Barber. Saturday was close. First 4 cars on the lead lap, just over a minute apart. First was Hammer Motorsports in an Audi. The name is so long, it's the cat walked across the keyboard, Audi. There were 2.5
Is
seconds
it
over
German?
but
Krankenschwester?
No, it's not one of those. It's like I can say the real German name. This was nothing but
It was a bunch of
acronyms
letters.
and
It's
abbreviations and letters, and it's like an RSQ3.
It's the free one.
WTF
Don't care.
Barbecue.
What
It's
I
the
know.
free
It's-
one in iRacing that
it's the one
everyone's
that I
running.
don't care about.
Yeah.
They were 2.5 seconds over Team GTR, and they're not a Nissan E46 M3. What are they thinking?
I don't know.
A minute back was another boring BMW M2 fancy schmancy Team Phoenix without an O. And then Screaming Goat was 4th, 6 seconds back, and another E46 M3. But at least Screaming Goat, that's fun.
Yeah.
Props to them. Past guests, Trailer and Trevor and Tyler, they were 9th. And that Aston Vantage we talked about ended up 63rd with just 80 laps. We feel pretty qualified to assess that something done broke.
Well, A, it's British. B, 63rd. Sunday was a little more spread out. First was Stratus Racing in the Elan NP01. That is the little radical looking thing. A full lap over the boring M2 of Team Phoenix. And another lap back was the Screaming Goat. Wah! Kingpin did not finish, but Automatic Racing, the previously mentioned V8 Vantage fame, was 4th, a mere 3 laps out of first.
You know, it's bad when
So
last
sad.
week's guest says, "A Vantage? No, I wouldn't race. I have one of those. There's no way I'd race that thing."
You know it's good.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Listener feedback.
Okay. Our IG post about HP tuners work.
That's the gram, folks. Go on.
Oh yes, the instas to get the Z running was well received, and even a few folks offered their experience with the system. Thank you to Daring Greatly Racing, Dan Gillis, Anton, Corey, and Aaron Brooks. Our other Facebook post from last week about our hood scoop got some great responses as well. Sasha wanted it to stay clear, and Brett Sloman said, "If you don't do an SRX theme, I will be disappointed," which relates to our story from earlier.
Car does kind of have that shape if you gave it an F40 grill and some stuff. Anyway, it doesn't fit our theme this year.
No.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry, Brett. Not going to work out. You'll like the theme though. It's fine.
You'll love it.
Yeah. Gentleman Dave texted me, hey, catching up on the B Turbo, which I'm going to try to say that correctly because our guest that's what he kept calling it. It's a B Turbo because it's Italian.
I was going to bring that up. Like, I always thought it was bi-turbo.
Of course you did. Your pronunciation is always
Bi
so
is
excellent,
two.
especially with other languages.
But bi means two.
But
got
it
two
probably
turbos.
means it's probably B in Italian probably means two. But it's Italiano.
Alexa, how do you say two? Never mind. Go on.
Exactly. Anyway, so Dave said we're talking about the Z alignment and keeping a logbook with a new build. And quote, it's not like you're gonna keep a log for a Rolls Royce or a Citroen. End quote. Funny stuff, man. Listening now. Thanks, Dave.
Nice.
On our Facebooks, Ted Ford posted that he had just finished listening to the Dave Mills episode and, quote, loved it, but I protest your assertion that no RV geek listens to the show. As the rambling conversations I have had with Dave attest, I'm happy to spend way too much time discussing the details of anything from a Clark Cortez to an Ultravan. Bro, do you even Euxton Caraboot?
No.
Don't make me start the Everyone Campers podcast.
Do it.
Now, I had to Google all of these, and then once I saw them, I was embarrassed to realize I knew exactly why each of those things were unique. So the Cortez was a full-size motorhome. It was one of the first front-wheel drive ones, made from 63 until 79. The Ultravan was that Corvair-based aluminum one, and if you can find one, get it, because they all got gutted for Corvair parts. And not many of those survive. And the Euxton Caraboot was a molded edition that slipped over the top and rear of your Mini Cooper and included an integrated aluminum rowboat on the top of it. So it was like this entire survival package, and it was all Mini Cooper sized.
Of course it did.
Cool.
Only small people can fit in the boat.
Nothing else, too.
Yeah. I don't have any listener feedback, but I learned from that other podcast that Erling and I are birthday buddies. Happy birthday, Erling.
Hey, happy birthday, Erling. That is good.
Racing report. iRacing.
Lemons was at Watkins Glen for Funduro. In the booth was just Ryan, Chrissy, and I, and Randy Bish. So we did actually have some quiet moments here and there because no one was there to fill every moment of the silence with sound. But we did try our best to plug the sponsors, even though it just wasn't quite the same. We're not mentioning the winner because they were not the real winner, and we don't care. Bish came in mid-pack while also talking to us the whole time, so I'm going to count him as the real winner because that was great.
I saw some comments about, holy cow, this guy is driving the race and talking about his cat at the same time. Like, I was
Yeah, he did. Well,
and sending us pictures of the cat too.
It's deceased cat now, unfortunately.
Yeah, right.
But yes, send us pictures too.
We learned about his cat, Magic Johnson, who came to races and stuff.
He's got a new cat, though, another rescue cat. His sister rescued my kitty.
Yep, he does.
Yep.
So this Sunday, it's the No Pedal, No Wheel Invitational at Pocono, and then more silliness with a figure 8 at Irwindale, and then 2 more 20-minute sprints at iRacing Speedway. That is a 3-mile oval it's a fake track. But the last of those is all in Skippies, which that's going to be interesting.
Oh, Skippies on that track. That's like for a 20-minute sprint. That's like 3 laps.
Yep.
So Slavine said he wants to try and break the automatic spotter on iRacing because he wants it to go on your right. It's a Skippy and a Skippy and a Skippy and a Skippy.
Okay.
Oh, where did we go?
Oh, no way. We went there to this iRacing Speedway, which is, I was like, well, that's not a real track, but Chris already took it from me. And our first race was big oval cars like NASCAR, Cup Car, IndyCar, Daytona prototypes, and those kind of cars. The second race was an old school with the Lotus 49s and 87, which was much less carnage than expected, but more fun than even normal for us. Somehow in the first race, old Greg won.
Old Greg has not been even racing with us at all. He
this is like this third time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's not what I'd call an avid gamer of any kind either.
No.
I was surprised I was glad he was on the Discord, but I'm surprised he figured it out.
Pretty late to the iRacing game, but happy that he is here and racing with us. Second, NASCAR versus Lotus race was run by our friend the alien Tyler in what he claimed was his first ever 87 NASCAR win.
Can you really call beating us a win?
there's some other people there who are good enough that it matters. Yeah.
They keep showing up.
I wasn't. I crashed every other lap. And even though in practice, I just went around. And around and
I was the same
around
way.
And around and
My
around.
Lotus 49,
Yeah.
I was doing great laps, and then we got in the race, and like people hit me, and then I couldn't ever get around again.
Was it
Yeah.
banana peels?
I think
Yes.
they're in blue turtle shells. I'm going to go there with blue
Right?
turtle shells coming off the 87s because they hate the superiority of the Lotus 49.
Yeah. Anyway.
Hey, you know who else is also superior? I got my birthday cookies from Chrissy's mom, and we immediately devoured all the peanut butter ones. And my wife said the amount of cinnamon on the snickerdoodles was perfect, and she forbade me from eating them all. So now we still have half of the snickerdoodles left.
Is this the scenario, the cookie scenario, or
Ray
cookie?
Carver episode.
Right,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
the Carver episode. No.
Because I told my mom that. She was freaking out. She was like, did they get sick? Did they get lost? Did dogs eat them? Because you made it sound like whatever you said, the cookie scenario or something like that. You made it sound like there was an actual story. And so my mom was all upset.
No, I was just saving it for the podcast.
Thank you. Somebody else got some late birthday cookies.
So I also got birthday cookies, and the box was beat within an inch of its life. They're awesome. There's about like 7
Wait,
left.
can I back up? What was beat? Because I know the answer, but
You
the
giga blasted.
podcast
Say it
does
again.
not.
I totally giga blasted. The box that they were shipped in, which we put up on our IG, so you can go to our Instagram and see how bad this box was that the post office tried to send. But you can't hurt Chrissy's mom's cookies because they're too good.
Actually, my box had a little bit of crushiness too, but they were all fine.
Mm.
Yeah.
She tried to switch to UPS because I think the USPS, she's over the mail when it takes literally over a month to get to Mental. So we figured, like, let's not do that
Well,
anymore.
they had to go to Florida first.
Everything went to Florida.
Yeah.
All right.
Main topic.
Hey, you guys, you know what's terrible?
No, I have no idea. Tell me.
Mental. What's terrible?
Tell
Ready?
me.
Yeah. Roofs. No, wait, you're talking about engine swaps.
Yes. We've only done this. What? This part 4, 5?
Part
What are
4, I
those?
think. I don't know.
This is part 4, we think.
We should listen to ourselves because we wouldn't have done this.
Yeah.
And by we, I
No.
mean everyone else, because I haven't touched that damn Z.
Well, that's as half of this show is don't make the mistakes we have made. We
That's
are
right.
trying to save you from yourself, even though it's only going to work for about 10% of you. The rest of you won't listen. So let's wrap up this series by talking about all these stupid
Is this
details.
really a wrap? Let's attempt to wrap up this series.
It's the wrap of the majority of it. I mean, there's always
Okay.
going to be things more, but this is the majority of the meat of the series.
Sure.
All these details that take forever, and usually actually end up derailing a lot of these projects, which is why they end up on Facebook Marketplace for just needs wiring, just needs full pump. That's usually
Installed,
where they end
not
up.
yet running.
Right, exactly. All right, so
Oh,
let's get going.
For those of you in the Facebook world, YouTube world, Mental has got the cookies out.
Two.
Got his cookies. Anyway, we talked last time about exhaust and getting
There's
air.
only a handful left, and you guys started talking about Chris.
Okay, Mental. Thanks, Mental. Anyway, we talked about getting air out of the engine. We still need to get air into the engine with an intake manifold, and throttle body. So we're going to start with the manifold. Does the one that comes with the engine actually fit in your car and point the right direction? If so,
Not always, yes.
right. But if it does, then pass go and collect $200. That's gone well. If not, next step is look at the other varieties of the engine for one that does fit. Like if the truck intake doesn't fit on your LS, look at the Corvette one. If the Civic Si intake doesn't fit, look at the TSX one. Things like that. What can you get one that might fit there? The other thing is maybe it can be put on backwards, like a Honda J Series V6 intake manifold. You can unbolt it, turn it 180 degrees, and bolt it back on,
Nice. I did not know that.
which is great for rear drive swaps in those.
Uh-huh.
Or next thing you can do is you got to make a hole somewhere for access. Like our TR7, they even put a box into the firewall so that the intake on their 3800 SC pointed through there because it wasn't going anywhere else. And then worst case, you need to make or heavily modify your own intake you're beyond the scope of the show. You're in Chris Egan territory now, so try to avoid that if you can. That's a lot of work. So if the manifold fits, but like the throttle body doesn't, you might be able to make an elbow or something to make it fit. Just can you turn it 90 degrees? Can you bend it down a little bit? What can you do to make it work a little better? But that's usually a lot easier than making a new manifold. Jeff.
I think the throttle body on the 3800 and the TR7 needed some sort of Australian manifold that would turn it 90 degrees.
It doesn't even quite turn at 90. It was going to be even too close on the TR. We talked about that, and it just wasn't going to work because that engine's jammed up against the firewall.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked about the elbow for the throttle body potentially, but in general, you want to find the largest throttle body you can get from an OEM application of that motor that fits. Like if it's a truck one, is there a different truck one? Can you get the one from the TSX to fit on your Accord or whatever it is? What's the biggest one that fits on easily before you go into aftermarket stuff? You also need to be mindful, is it drive-by-wire or drive-by-cable for a swap? Because that each opens entirely different issues. If it's a cable, well, you need to get in a cable that's appropriate length, that's going to have the right ends on it for your throttle body and pedal, and it has a bracket that holds at the right spot to pull on your throttle body. If it's a drive-by-wire, well, now you've got to run all the wiring. You've got to install a drive-by-wire pedal, which spends a lot of time in the Lotus position. You might need an additional computer to do that. It seems so easy. Oh, just put that pedal in there. Okay, it's an entire Saturday. There you
Quick
go.
Question.
Yeah.
The Z uses what kind of throttle body?
Drive-by-wire.
No, the original Z.
Oh, cable.
The LS uses?
Drive-by-wire.
And how many times did we spend standing on our head to make that pedal fit? A lot.
Oh, so many.
But then the other side is the Civic. We use the stock pedal, the stock cable.
See, that was much better.
With a slightly different bracket that I kind of bent a stock bracket, and it fits. But that's also Honda to Honda. Anyway, mental.
And you, when you say that's an entire Saturday for the fourth time you've done this, and you've kind of got a feel for how it's going to go. Your first time, it's a week.
It takes a while. I mean, you have to fab and weld and like it. Yeah.
Sometimes, you're going to fab and weld and be in that Lotus position, and it's not going to work. You got to trash it and start over.
And it's got to be the right angle, both in multiple planes. It has to have the right depth. It has to be the right distance for heel and towing. Like there's all kinds of things that go along with it.
I think Eric spent half a day, then I spent a full day, and then you fixed it, and then you wired it on 2 different days.
Yeah,
just on the pedal. Yeah.
Yep. Works great now though. Like the height is perfect.
Fantastic.
The spot is
amazing.
Perfect. Yeah, it turned out great. Okay. So if you got an intake manifold and a throttle body and a gas pedal, there you go. Now you've got to make an intake to get air into the motor, into the throttle body. And there are a few basic pieces you need here. And you can apply this to if you just want to make a better intake for your car too. You need some tubing, some couplers, clamps, filter, and some kind of support. So for tubing, look for something that's mandrel bent, a little bigger than your throttle body, but not hugely because it's not really going to help that much. You lose some velocity that way. Larger filters generally are less restrictive. So go big on a filter if you have the room. You want more filtering area and filtering media. That'll let it through nicely. Watch out for the tubing end size on the filter because it needs to match your intake tubing. You get this Mongo filter with an 8-inch hole in it. Well, how are you going to get that 8-inch hole down to your 3-inch tubing? You got to find a way to make that work. And velocity stacks in filters are wonderful if you can make it happen. It helps accelerate the air nicely so it's not as turbulent as it goes in to the intake. Let's see. Silicone couplers are usually the best. We've had luck using truck, like big diesel tractor trailer radiator hose bits in the past, and they work on smaller intakes. Clamps, those are pretty self-explanatory. You need enough for all your connections, including your mass airflow. Something big that'll tighten up nicely. And also something that'll come off again nicely because probably you're going to be taking the stuff apart. Anyway, lastly, some kind of mount for the tubing so it doesn't flop around. You can't just have it hooked onto the throttle body and say, close it good enough. You got to have something else holding it up.
It'll go like doing, doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a piece of bar stock bent correctly is usually a good start. A flexible exhaust hanger is usually a nice thing to do because your intake tube is the size of a big exhaust, and they make hangers for those, and so something flexible. A good way to start all this is we like to buy an Amazon or eBay quote unquote cold air intake kit that might be for something else entirely, but they usually include all the components you need, and you just need really the right tubing size, and then you're just going to be cutting stuff and putting it together and doing what you can with it. But it's a nice place to start, and it's usually less expensive than buying the components individually.
Do you know what I'm bringing over to your house this weekend?
One of those.
Cold air kit for a Silverado.
Yep.
Yay.
And we're going to make all the pieces work.
And it's got a bend in it. It's got a big piece of aluminum tube. It's got all the couplers. It's got a couple of different sizes to convert your tube to your mass airflow sensor, because this fits on a 4.8 or a 5.3 or a 6.0 kit.
Which all use the same mass airflow sensor.
Well, I don't know why it comes with the thing. So yeah.
Well, ours doesn't work, so there's that.
Yeah,
and it's got like a big mounty bar already welded to it.
Mounty bar.
Perfect.
That's cool.
Hope it goes to the right place.
It even has like a shield that goes around the cone filter, but I figure that's not going to help.
I'm told if you pour French champagne in there, it fires out bald eagles. America.
Sure. Actually, that shield might be good because this is going to be kind of hanging out in the intake area, Jeff. So we might want a water shield on it.
Yeah, whatever.
Wet races.
Yeah, we'll see.
We won't have any of those, so it doesn't really matter. But if we did, it'd be grerait.
So why are we keeping why are we keeping the defroster and the heater and the wipers?
Don't say that.
It's going to be under the surfboardo, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, but there's a giant opening in the front where the radiator is.
Oh yeah, I guess
that's where it's going to be.
That's where it has to connect to the mass airflow, which is that.
You're right. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. We're done. Okay. So now we're talking cooling system. Wait, no, we're not. Go back to our prior cooling system episodes about finding a radiator and finding hoses that through the Gates master catalog. Your stock radiator probably isn't going to work, as it wasn't made for additional power, which is the reason why you're doing the swap in the first place. Summary and a few tips. Find the largest radiator you can fit. It has hoses in workable areas using Summit sizing filters. This means go out and measure your engine bay and figure out where exactly it's going to go. And then figure out what's going to fit. And then figure out where your cooling hoses are coming and going. Okay? And once you figured out the approximate angles, use the Gates hose catalog to search for your hose in the right dimensions and shapes.
On some coffee.
Yeah, it takes a while. You're just scrolling through pictures of hoses with dimensions.
Oh, you're scrolling through pictures of hose, all right.
Hoses.
Oh,
ziz.
Sorry, missed that.
Yeah.
So Chrissy, do you know where the outlets have to point at?
Where the in and the out?
Yes.
On the inside of the
read
engine
the next
bay?
section.
Oh, it's yours.
What is it? What does it have to point towards?
I'm sorry. I scrolled down to make sure I had
the
write
water
something.
pump. You know it is.
Thank you.
Sorry. The water pump, of course.
The water pump.
And
exactly.
Thermostat housing.
Yeah, thermostat housing. By the way, where's your water pump and where's your thermostat housing? That might not be in the same place as the motor you put it in.
Yep.
It's
probably not.
It's probably not. Yeah. So let's talk about the water pump. So some of them are like connected right to the block, and you have no chance of changing it no matter what, because you chose a motor that doesn't have parts and things and swap all things. But some of them you have the ability to aim the outlets or put in different directions or have different pulley configurations depending on the model. Those are the engines you want to pick, by the way. Don't pick some random crap that you don't have these chances. The LS is a very popular swap because it's got a lot of different things that you can swap. Different size outlets, different locations, different pulley depth. You know what I mean? So pulley depth really matters because all the pulleys are going to have to work together. Your average Honda swap has not as many OEM options, but you might have an electric. So let's talk about electric options if you choose to go that way. With an electric pump, you basically can lose entire pulleys off the front of your motor and have less drag. And this is really popular in the K24 business. Chris, did you know this?
Yeah, I knew a bit of it. We don't have one, but
No, we have a stock one.
You know who does have an electric water pump thing going on? Sasha has figured this out.
Really?
And uses some kind of BMW electric water pump from, I think, an N52, and has a voltage controller to it, so it only pumps the amount you need based on the temperature you have. And he says it works really, really well. Like he said, like he was even surprised at how well this thing worked. So yeah,
this is great. I was doing research because we've never used an electric water pump on any of our things, and the K24 people love these K-tuned water pumps. And I said, why is everybody saying this is the one? I opened it up and it had AN fittings on it. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. It bolts right where you need it. It gets rid of 3 pulleys out of the system, and you can buy any AN fitting in any shape that you want to send it in any direction. And it's amazing. And it's
very interesting.
No wonder everybody uses it.
And drag racers like them too, because there's no parasitic drag.
There's no parasitic drag, right? So you can flow more. You can have less parasitic drag. You can flow exactly what you need. And it gets rid of some complexity on the front of the motor. So it's a great thing to do. If you don't have Sasha's magic BMW car part, whatever he's pulling, you can expect $400 to $600, and that's for your K swap or your LS swap. So this is not a cheap proposal.
I don't think it gives you that much power. I mean, there's no free lunch. You're making that power in a different way, but the draggers because they can shut it off for that one pull and then turn it right back on.
Well, but they also like it because they're doing supercharger belts and causing other problems. So the belts are very important to them. We're going to talk about belts because all of these belts have to work together. So you can't just change one thing and not change other things, like your alternator. So this is where the fun starts, because there are a ton of freaking options on alternator. Basically, electricity is electricity is electricity. So there are a lot of non-GM cars out there running the tried and true GM one wire. Our Citroen had one, still has one, still sitting there. You find a belt that fits and you fab up a bracket and you're off to the races. And then you only have to bring it in 3 times a race to tighten the belt because you didn't fab a very good bracket, but that's a whole nother story. Actually, I joke. If you fab a good bracket, a GM one wire is as simple as hell.
I think that was something Ferenchek said in one of our social media post, making fun of the when the Z wouldn't start originally.
He said, do you have a
GM one wire? Woo!
Yeah, exactly. People say it's like the magic wand. Just put in a GM one wire. Why are you doing that? But anyway, most of the reasons that you're going to trade out an alternator is because you want to move it to a better location. All right. So if you're doing a popular swap, there's going to be all kinds of kits available. If you're doing something weird, you're going to have to go to that GM one wire. But in the K24 business I was reading today, I read that the D series alternator is the popular suggestion. Chris, why is a D series alternator the hotness for your K swap?
They're small and light.
There you go. So anyway, LS has options between truck, car, Corvette, left side, right side, top, bottom, because they put an LS basically into everything. But when you do that, you also have to match the other accessories. You need to match the water pump and the crank pulley so that all of the pulleys are in the same position and have the same amount of ribs. This is the one category that I'm going to keep going back to is this is not a singular decision. You can't change just the water pump or just the alternator or just the power steering pump without thinking how that affects the entire pulley system. And I said power steering. Let's get to that. You're going to probably screw this up. This is a lot harder than the first two. All right. It's more to think about than just where you hang it and can you get a belt on it. Pressure, volume, these things matter. So you'll need to match the rack and the pump. And then you're going to need to get lines and fittings and everything that fits. And you're going to end up maybe having to get a professional to build lines for you. Pulley,
or you can hopefully just get banjo fitting. Banjo to ANs is what we use, for example. And if you have something common, like a GM Type 2 power steering pump, people make that adapter 2AN that just barely doesn't hit the bracket and just barely poly and just barely fits, but it does, and that lets you go to AN, just for example. So because this is another example where using something common, it just makes your life easier.
Absolutely. I found that there are tons and tons of ways that you can do this for your Ford. Obviously, Coyote swaps are something we don't really talk about much, but your Coyote into your F-150 or your 95 or SN197 or your Fox body and everywhere in between, this is something that a lot of people are doing. And I found some interesting things if you're going to be changing your power steering, is that these all have different timing covers, because the idler pulley is machined into the timing cover, and you need to make sure that you're also getting the right timing cover. So if you go steal that power steering pump off of your Coyote that you're putting into your Fox body, you also must make sure that you have the right timing cover. Or like your F-150 alternator to move your thing. Mix and match. You can check this all out. PBH Performance. If you're doing a Coyote swap, go there for $800. They can solve your entire pulley system, supercharged, not supercharged. What, which you want, the EcoBoost alternator and the Coyote power steering pump. Bam, you got it. You just check the boxes.
It's like for LSs. What do you want? Where do you want the things? We'll make
That's
it,
right.
as long as the depth is all the same. And for something like a Honda, there are a handful of different options, not that many, but still, like, we had to go with a Civic Si idler pulley, and to get the top of the belt to go in the right spot, to go around the alternator, to do this and that. But you just got to investigate your OEM options before you go to the aftermarket.
That is the best thing to do, is if you can pull the entire set off of an entire car and put it all in, your gravy most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens if you get it wrong? One of my favorite YouTube channels out there was running a Ford, like lower front end kind of deal. I think it was a Panther with an LS motor swap, and the power steering pump was off the LS and it was running into the Ford rack, and the pump delivered too much pressure. And every time they revved, the truck turned left. Don't want that. That is a negative result. I'm going to say, if you're doing something really weird, maybe you should just ditch it all and go with an electric power steering. This might be the way to go. OEM electric units are littering the local junkyards. There's Priuses that all have them. There's GM Deltas, which Donnie is right now going, he said that's wrong. He's not saying the right. Saturn Ion, Cobalt, HHR, whatever Donnie is going to tell me I'm wrong, are popular places to get them. A recent Hot Rod Magazine article did a swap for $150. The Delta Rack seems to be the way to go if you have a vehicle speed sensor and you want variable power assist. The Prius Rack is what you want if you want a standalone. The article in Hot Rod was way better than anything I'm going to say, so link in the show notes. Go check it out.
And the Mazda 3, for example, has an electric over hydraulic system, in that the electric pump runs the hydraulic pressure to a fairly standard hydraulic rack. So that's kind of a new system that I've seen some people working on. They've used it in Mazda 3s and Volvos and whatnot.
I did read about the Volvo rack. So
yeah, it's the same thing. It's a hybrid between the two, and it's not really necessarily the rack itself. It's the system that goes to it. So
I also learned today that on the Ford pumps, the nozzle on the pump is what controls the pressure. So you can change the nozzles onto different kinds of pumps to change pressure.
Interesting.
See, that's what we do here at Everyone Racers. It's all about the research. Don't make our mistakes, but listen to what we say, and at least it gives you a good baseline. And to that end, let's talk about fuel, because you're going to need it. It's what makes an engine go. You mix it with the air, it goes boom, cylinders move. Now, for your fuel system, what you've got here, it's going to depend on the volume and the pressures of the systems in the car and the chassis. Most importantly, if they have returns or not. Now, we're going to keep this to fuel injection because, let's be honest, even the grumpy old guy here knows that there is no reason to swap on a carb in 2021. So we've got return to returnless.
Do you hear that, Matt?
Return systems are... Yes, exactly. Return systems are always pumping fuel from the pump to the regulator, where excess fuel that is not needed is sent back to the tanks. And you can tell this is also going to be important if you're doing the god awful fuel cell or whatever tank you're using on that one. Now, returnless systems have, wait for this, no return, and they just have to the pump push against the regulator, or on some PCMs, ECUs, they regulate the pump voltage to change the flow. Now, if your motor matches your chassis, that's going to help. So like the Honda swap, it was all Honda parts, but we still had to do a little bit of work on that one. If not, you're still going to need some sort of fuel pressure regulator. Now, the 3-pedal Mavia runs an Aeromotive and possibly run a return line from to your tank from your motor. Now we're talking about that. You've got to talk about pressure and flow. If your chassis was a carbureted or a throttle body fuel injection, then it probably runs a low pressure system that is not going to work with a modern multi-point system. So if you're upgrading to a more modern engine, this is what we're talking about. In this case, you're going to have to swap a pump that can flow to the higher pressure and volume. And I know you're thinking, well, God, that's the JEGS catalog, and this is going to be a nightmare, and I'm going to spend hundreds of dollars. No. See, Chris here has done the smart research, and he's given you not one, but two brilliant cheap solutions. The first one is a Walbro 255. They're ubiquitous. There's probably a solution for putting one in your car. Somebody's figured out how to do that because everybody uses those. They're well made. They last forever, and everyone's got there. But if you don't even want to spend that much money,
I was going to say I had a Walbro 255 in my DSM.
Of course you did.
I didn't have bigger injectors yet.
I don't think the fuel pump was a problem in the DSM.
Nope.
I really don't. No. But you get the Walbro 255, or you can get a pump from an 89 E250 V8. And actually, we were doing some research right before we started recording, even the 6-cylinder. Now, you got to get the external pump because they do have an internal tank pump. But get the external pump. NPT fittings on both ends, they are dirt cheap. And I mean $30 on Rock Auto. And if it goes out, you can roll yourself right on down to the old local flaps, and they're going to have another one in stock. Or Bubba's got one over there, store number 12. It's just 2 miles down the road. It's going to put out enough flow pressure for almost all of what, if you're listening to this show, it's going to meet your needs. Or if you're listening to the show and you're not critiquing us like Donnie, it's going to meet most of your needs. Now, you're going to need fuel line that is rated to handle the pressure that you are using, and then fuel injection hose clamps for any rubber lines for a tight fit, not your standard worm gear clamps. The fastest way to ruin your weekend is to have a great running, capable car that leaks fuel.
Ask me how I know.
One chance all weekend, and they yank you.
Mm-hmm. Better now. Go ahead.
Rubber lines you're getting on there. Now, of course I am. Yeah. All right. So you want to get, if you're running that rubber line, now ideally you're using your Army Navy stuff, the AN fittings for durability and secure fittings. And once you have all these bits, plumb it all together in the correct direction and use your fuel pressure regulator. I feel like I just giga-blasted.
Just a little. Keep going.
Just a little.
For a second. See, okay, I saw some movement. Maybe I'm undone, giga-blast. Yeah, you're going to use your fuel pressure regulator to set your pressures per the engine specs. Now, there's a temptation to run rubber lines because they're easy and they're flexible. Get on that JEGS or get on your Summit catalog. They make metal lines. They make them in 50-foot lengths, and the tools for bending and mounting these things are incredibly cheap. And once you've got this all mapped out, and a metal line isn't going to explode under the pressure and ruin your weekend. Finally, the last bit, you've got to have a computer. And this is the conversation that we're constantly having back and forth with Donnie, but it is some sort of, dang it. All right. So it's some sort of device that does ones and zeros, not my modem, for example. And it's going to handle all of these things. And this is way too complicated to even get in 3 shows. So you look up swaps for your motor, and this is why you want to use a common swap. See what you can find. And we're talking about your LSs and your GM swaps and your Honda stuff, because there's all of that in there. And that's really what we're qualified for. But we have actually spent a lot of time at SEMA talking to a lot of these guys. And if you have a specific application, don't be afraid to ask us directly if you're not finding guidance, because we know people that are in this industry and we can get you pointed in the right direction.
Or for a handful of things, we've done them and can tell you about them. Yeah. We're not necessarily saying our advice is all good, but at least we'll tell you the things not to do.
And then who can tell you what?
Like the rest of the show.
Go ahead and not fail. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, Chrissy, you're up.
Oh, I know. Just to make sure that everybody was done.
The Gigablast is over.
The Gigablast is over. Everybody's good about talking about what they usually do. I was just waiting because usually somebody's going to interrupt. So I wait. Anyway, let's talk axles for 4-wheel drive and drive shaft for rear-wheel drive. So rear drive is easier. You're going to take your drive shaft from your transdoner and a drive shaft from the chassis, and then get a good measurement of the distance between the two, and then bring or send them to a drive shaft shop and make you one from the two. Got it?
Yep.
Okay. 4-wheel drive, forward drive. Sorry.
Front wheel drive.
Front wheel drive. 4-wheel drive, right? FWD. Sorry. Yeah. Anyway, it's more a bit of a challenge. You need to watch out for the diameter and the spline count, both at the transangle axle. Excuse me. Let's start again. Transaxle and at the hub. Then also have the right compression length, which you can measure. Compressed length, which you can measure. Sometimes there's no off-the-shelf solution, but you may be able to mix and match joints and shafts from different cars and get what you need. If not, now you're into the world of custom axles and big bills. Never said this was going to be cheap.
Yep.
And
And that's a great way to end it. We never said this is going to be cheap. So Mental's got something to say. What do you got to say, Mental?
A lot of you guys out there, a lot of you folks out there are really good welders, and you're like, I'm not going to a drive shaft shop. I can absolutely make these two drive shafts work. I have seen 9 teams attempt to make their own, very talented welders attempt to make their own drive shafts. Anybody want to take odds on how many of those did not fail?
1.
0.
Nope.
I'm going to say
0.
1.
Nope, 0. They all failed. Every one of them failed. A drive shaft shop does one thing, and usually it's one grumpy old guy, but he knows how to keep them balanced, how to keep them lined up. Just go to the drive shaft shop. If you show up with a case of beer, sometimes you can get out of there for $50
Or some cookies.
Yeah. It's where are you going to find a drive shaft shop? Find your local brodozer place and 4-wheel drive, because they're the people who are doing a lot of this drive shaft work. It's a lot rarer for race car guys than it is for the 4-wheel drive crowd.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'd also like to mention another thing on the axles. You're probably going to not survive doing big horsepower through your axles, at least the first couple.
Yeah.
Ask us how we know.
Endurance racing is pretty tough on axles. So sometimes it's false economy to go with these have a lifetime warranty. We'll just keep sending them back. That's great if they last the whole race.
Yeah. When you're on a one-on-one, first name basis with the manager of the auto zone in a town you don't live in from a race weekend.
You're like, I could just swap these cups. It's okay.
Yeah. No.
Yep. That's why the axles in the Civic have my name on them.
Remember those guys with the, what was it, Pontiac Grand Am?
Oh, yeah. They're spitting axles like you'd see an axle on the track. You'd say, oh, they must have lost another one. And
they're sure playing enough, that
there's
game.
A Grand Am.
Yeah.
Hey,
at one point they were welding chains between the chassis and the A arms because they were convinced that it was the chassis flex that was pulling them out of the cups.
Or it's axle droop. The
axle droop. That's what it was.
Never the axle droop.
No.
It's never the axle droop.
We got this feedback also from We Like the Tuna here guys, and they're swapped Monte Carlo. So yeah, they're like, we killed about 9 axles one week.
Yeah, then you get the good ones. So yeah, that's it. This is expensive. This is hard. don't do this for most of the things. It's taken us 4 episodes to give you all the reasons why big swaps are a bad idea. And we really do hope you listen, because we've made these mistakes too many times. Stock plus or same chassis swaps, those can be quite rewarding and are not that hard. So, go for it. But once you get past that, now you have an idea of what you're in for. So don't blame us when you fall prey to the siren song of the motor swap, because that would be so cool and your buddies tell you to.
So
and man, that would be awesome.
So you're saying I really should stop searching Craigslist for RX-8s with bad wankles for my LS hopes and dreams?
Yes, because until you do an LS
there
swap.
Are RS8s. Yeah. There are RS8s that don't have bad wankles.
A handful. Yeah.
Some. No,
Yep,
I have no desire to do that. I'm only joking. That is always what people say. Oh, I got an RS. I got RX-8. Yeah, I'm gonna put an LS in it. Yeah, be easy.
Yeah.
So it's gonna rock.
Totally easy.
I'm gonna do it on Tuesday before the scout meeting. It'd be great.
Yep. And that's about it.
Awesome. Anybody else have any other thing on this topic before we move on?
Don't do it.
Just
the tip.
This is just a quick public service announcement, and then we have a hella sweet but terrible too.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Double feature.
Well, because Chris read his in first, and then I was like, no, we're talking about daylight savings time. It's this weekend. It totally messes me up for a while. Not sure about you, but it does for me. So set your clock an hour ahead on Saturday night. Here are a few things you might want to remember. It is a good time to check your household items like fire detectors, house fan filters, carbon monoxide detectors, and check the fire extinguisher charge while you're at it. If you remember where it is, tell your family. Just, it's one of those good times to do all these things, because then you remember when you did it last. There you go. Give your inclination to clean. Some people like to clean. Find your hazardous waste day. Get rid of all that stuff that's in your hazards in your basement that are hiding. Consider properly disposing of your expired drugs. And this just added our airbags from your recent build, because I have those and now I need to figure out what to how to get rid of them. Do not light
one?
them. I have two. Do not put them in your yard.
Actually, now.
Oh yes, because we have one from the Z.
His hand is up. We are not blowing up your friend.
Put them in your backyard.
You don't put a human being on there, but they're just fun to watch fly in the air.
Right? That's what people said on the internet.
Race seat, helmet, right on top of that airbag. Usually with a tire in between for some reason. I don't know why.
Is that so when you come back down hard?
I just like watching the airbag fly.
Looks
out.
Like this. Hold on,
this is bad pod.
Go ahead, do it.
And then your friend has blood everywhere.
Your buddy's grabbing his groin and everyone else is laughing.
This was a safety tip.
Sorry,
now but just find your you typically now your local trash company or something will have a hazardous waste day, so consider that stuff that if you have it around your house. And if you will probably next week feel a little sluggish because of the time change, so take note if you're driving early and it's suddenly dark outside when you're driving. Watch for pedestrians, animals, keep an eye out, and keep an eye on your sluggishness, and everybody stay safe. So that's my quick PSA.
Okay.
There's a hella sweet or but terrible, Chris.
All right. The Z has come along quite well. Let's say that. Before, a couple of months ago when we were building this, we said, all right, our drop dead weekend on the Z is going to be, or day is going to be March 15th. If the Z, we are not 100% confident that it will be ready and working by pit, we're going to put it on the back burner and bring the Mazda to the front burner and build the Mazda. So in 1 month, we can build it enough. And that's, that was our date. We can do it. So we always make sure we have a car. Well, here we are. It is March 10th. I'm quite confident in the Z. It's fairly well done. Like the things we need to do are like radios and fire system stuff. That's not that hard. Like theme. That's what we're down to. And we already started tearing apart the Mazda. I'm
see
suggesting,
where
as a
we're
hella
going.
sweet but terrible idea, is that we build the Mazda like we needed it, and then we bring them both to pit so that when the Z has a failure, if it is not a big failure, we just go, all right, and then we drive the Mazda the rest of the weekend. This would require a significant commitment on everybody to get the Mazda done in time, but then it would be done, and then we could potentially shake down 2 cars, or at the very least, we have a backup for if something goes wrong with the Z so we don't ruin a whole weekend. So that's the plus side. The downside is that's a lot of work for the next month. Is this a hella sweet or but terrible idea?
I have a question.
Yes.
When you say a lot of work, because we just did 5 plus episodes on why swapping the Z was a bad idea. And it only really took, I think, a year. And part of that year was the entire country was shut down. So you had tons of free time. So the other thing is the Mazda, it's really just cage seat cutoff switch.
Yeah, it's safety gear.
Right.
Safety gear, yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's not going to be an expensive amount of labor, but I'm saying, especially given your team's experience, not intellectually challenging, it's just nut and bolt work.
Because we knew in 1 month we could have the Mazda ready, because it drove into the garage as a perfectly fine operating daily driver. There's nothing wrong with it at all. So it's safety gear.
Yeah. So then I think the answer is kind of obvious. Yeah. Go for it.
Well, you're not here doing the work. So
I would be if I could. I swear.
I know.
I really, really would.
I know. I don't doubt that.
I'm looking forward actually to getting back into lemons. And by the way, if you're listening to this podcast and you didn't read your email, bribes are back on. So if you really, just throwing that out there. And I'm speaking, and I know this for a fact, for the entire lemon staff, we're going to need to see a lot of booze.
Okay. Next.
This is tough because all of the discussions that we have had has been centered around this motor came out of a junkyard and we don't know what in the hell is going on with it. And we know that the arc of sorting this Z is going to be huge. There is going to be a lot of, didn't expect that work.
Or we didn't expect it because we just don't know that's going to be the problem.
Yeah,
absolutely. We're expecting problem, but
we are expecting problems, but we don't know what that problem is going to be.
We didn't think it was going to be that problem.
Yeah,
though,
exactly.
Known. You have a known unknown of unknowns.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something like that.
The difficulty level of a motor swap is like a triple axle Lutz while there's chipmunks around your knees and your partner is drunk and the ice is melty. So that's what really would happen if, like, say a cam spun a lobe or something like that.
I like that.
But I also know I don't have every single weekend free. So this weekend we'll have a serious discussion because I think it's a hell of a good idea. But I don't know how much time I will have.
We
I know.
primarily need you for the caging.
Yeah. And I could take home the Z and do the rest. I
Pretty
could do the
much.
You
theming. I could do the.
You could. Will you?
Yeah, absolutely.
If Jeff
Fire
has a
system?
deadline, he gets things done.
Yeah,
Jeff
fire
has a deadline.
system, easy. That's paint. Hell yeah. But
Okay.
we can get a lot of that done this weekend also.
Let's keep it in mind. So now, so far, we've got I think a 1.5.
Yeah.
Chrissy, what do you think?
Hold on. Mental has his hand back up.
Okay.
I just want to throw an additional consideration because you also know that if you bring an unfinished, potentially finishable project to a lemons race, it gets done. it may not make the green flag, but if you bring the Mazda 3 and it just needs, okay, we got to get the fire system installed and a couple of things welded up. If the Z runs all weekend, it'll probably, at least get some laps in. If the Z blows up or hella blows up, well, now you got a lot of free time and you're already at the track.
Mm-hmm.
Chrissy, it's your car. I'm ready to hear.
I am.
And your husband that will be disappeared.
And it's not. I was out in the garage all night Monday night. Like I'm out in the garage. It's my car. I've done
the Mazda has
most
more work. Yeah, that's in Chrissy's wheelhouse than the Z did. To be honest.
Yeah.
Honestly, Chrissy, you stripped it, right? I mean,
yeah, and it's not quite done, and there's still plenty left to do. So, I am also like a half because if we say yes, that means it's now every night, all night, and it might have been that way, but now it is, and that means it's like we feel bad for taking a night off because now we didn't work on it tonight because we made some dinner and now we're on the show. So it's things like that it's not getting done, but I'm pro because if we get it done. Right after April, we drop everything car wise and go to the boat, which is what needs to happen. So we have other projects that as soon as the first race is over, regardless of what happens to both cars, we have to move on. So if
getting this off the plate,
kind of, because then if the Z, something happens with the Z and now we have to pivot to the Mazda, we can't necessarily take the rest of the summer to build a Mazda before the next race. So that's our next problem. Mm-hmm. So I don't like either of my options.
This boat goes in the water right around the time of the next race, which is early June. So
where we hope to have both cars ready.
Yes.
Are you familiar with the term build the plane as you fly it? Oh,
yeah.
Sure. Is that the way we want to do it? Is that the way Chris Abbott works? Hello.
No,
have you met the man?
There are some things that can be done later with the Mazda. So, like, for example,
but you're in front of it.
Well, we don't need all the gauges. Like, I don't need a nice gauge panel built. I'll just keep the stock crap. But as long as I have an oil cooler, I'm okay. Yeah. Things like that. I don't need to do the exhaust swap and intake manifold swap for more power. Leave the stock crap in there. For example.
Yeah. And
I'm liking this plan more and more.
You're in front of it. You're not doing the building the plane as you fly it in reaction to a compressed schedule. You've actually opened up your schedule. Now, Chrissy's observation about this obligation, it has to be done. That's you guys, but you're not, this isn't a reactionary thing. This is you guys acting in front of a time crunch. I feel in my mind, it would be less stressful.
All right. So Jeff, go to Fazio's on Saturday morning.
Or Friday when I take the day off.
Or Friday when we take the day off. And you got plenty of things to get at Fazio's.
And now you can bring the Titan because
how many sticks?
Well, I have one 10-foot stick here.
We're going to need a lot.
Yeah, the car's really tall. So
the backstays have to go far back. We've already as we're looking at it.
Probably 3 20-foot sticks. Plus, I've got a 10-foot here. Plus, we've got some door bars that might work.
Bits and bangles.
Yeah,
bits and boops.
And if that's not enough, you can get one more, but that'll get most of it done. So we need that.
If you're going to be at pit race, come by and help us Friday night.
Yeah. We need sheet metal for the roof.
Yep. And I got that on my list already.
And then just whatever. We'll talk later.
Yeah, we'll talk.
The usual list. Okay.
The usual, Jeff, stop by and get the cage stuff list.
Yeah. Including the bits and boops, like we always need some square tubing.
Yeah, we always need some plate.
Right, and find those washers for the gussets.
I think we have some, actually.
That means I got to order a new tubing notcher, like right now. Okay. Cool.
All righty. It's going to be an exciting weekend.
I think that
I'm upset.
A little drunk.
Bummed that I'm not going to be there.
A little robot truck.
I'm a little a little robot truck. But I'm genuinely bummed. I've at least gotten a weekend on the last couple of cars, and I'm not going to be able to do this one. It's all right. I'll bring you a Honda this summer. It'll be fine.
Cool.
Okay.
Wow. Thank you for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We also hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building because, damn it, we can't stop building.
Hey, if we had a car that worked,
Everyone
we
can be
wouldn't have
yeah,
to.
we're going to go from like 0 working cars. Never mind. Everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It is totally free.
Please.
Then go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. If you're in the YouTube world, talk to us right down there in the doodly doo. Just
Give
go
us
ahead and
a
type it right in.
Up, hit that notification button.
Ring the bell, or else YouTube doesn't really believe you. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. You can text us 484-243-0455. Find us on the Instas or the Tweeters at everyone.racers. And now we officially on Spotify. So tell all your crippled friends who are trying to get through PT so they can get back in the race car because they rode motorcycles like a fool when they're too old. We're on Spotify. You can listen to us. Thanks again, and until next week, keep the shiny side up. At least there is no shiny side. Then just keep the surfboard down.